Hey, what's up? We're gonna have a look at Samsung's heat pump clothes dryer. This is the 2021 model, the massive 10 kilo drying capacity one, and it's a heat pump. Look at those energy stars, eh? It's gonna save you a lot of money, and it's gonna save your clothes as well. It's gentle on your fabrics because it doesn't have to heat up the air that much. So this is something that you definitely want to have a look at if you're looking to do an upgrade or if yours has broken down. The picture doesn't do it enough justice in this video. I mean, this thing looks really nice. This black, nice finish, and the big moon door is really nice. I love how Samsung have gone with the touch controls as well, as they have done in many other models. As you can see, it does the touch, and you use this dial to select your cycles. Pretty good. I've done a review on the matching washing machine, so you might want to check that out as well, because you can pair the two of these up so in such a way that you sit this dryer on top of that washing machine or next to that washing machine, and you don't have to touch anything, touch any controls on your dryer. You can control it all from the washing machine, so you can send commands to this dryer via your washing machine. So you can think about it being pretty handy in that if you stack these up, I mean, these are pretty high to start with. So if you can imagine, if this dryer is sitting on top of a washing machine, it's going to be high up there. So being able to control this dryer from your washing machine is an added bonus. So you might want to check out that video that I've done on that washing machine. And if you're going to buy them, Samsung offers a discount if you buy them as a pair, and you get the big capacity washer, big capacity dryer. I'm saying big capacity, but you guys haven't seen how huge this thing is inside. It's pretty massive. If you can look in there, I know it might be a bit hard to visualize how big, how massive this drum is, but trust me, you can fit a whole doona in there. Not that I'd recommend drying big doonas in there, but you can actually fit one in there. They're pretty massive, which means that when you do a wash, you're not splitting your drying cycles into two. You can just put it all in one go, and then your clothes are pretty much dry. And as you can see from that shiny light in there, it's got a convenience light there so that you can see what you're doing while you're drying your clothes. Having a look here, you can see this is a 9-star energy rated dryer. The more the stars, the more efficient this is. And as a comparison, your normal vented dryer is about 1.5 star and 2-star energy rated, which can convert to about costing you $100 or $150 each month on your electricity bill, depending on how often you use it. And if you use a normal vented dryer, it uses a heater to heat up the air so that it can dry your clothes, and that's harsher on your clothes. So something like a heat pump uses a compressor and heat pump technology to be more efficient and gentler on your clothes. We have a look at some of the other controls that Samsung has really put in this dryer to make it more gentle on your clothes so that your delicates and clothes can last a longer time. I'll explain to you how the heat pump technology works. So with heat pumps, it's basically a compressor like one in your fridge, which is here. So imagine inside your Samsung dryer, inside this dryer, this is sort of the setup that's in most heat pump dryers. So you've got two systems. You've got one, which is a closed system, which has got the gas in this compressor. It's in liquid form. And then this is where all the heat exchange works. You got a heat exchanger here and another one here. So what usually happens, and then on the top here, you've got your drum sitting there, and then somewhere here, you've got your motor that drives the drum. So what happens is the air is pushed through the drum and comes through here, through the filters, and then it's now picked up the moisture from your clothes as it's moving like that. And when it comes here, it's going to drop that moisture in here. And then that moisture is what is usually pumped out as condensate liquid water. So that's why they call them heat pump condenser dryers, or if they're not heat pump, they call them condenser dryers. So whenever you hear the term condenser dryers, this is what they're referring to. It picks up the air, picks up the moisture in your clothes, and then through the heat exchanger dumps the water, and then continues on, and the air goes through as well. So the heat pump helps to make this process more efficient. It doesn't need a heater to be heating up the air to do this process. So that's as simple as I can put it. So this is why it's worth getting a heat pump dryer, because there's no heating elements in here. It's just a compressor that's running, and it's gonna cost you less. It's gonna save you more in the long run. So you might spend $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 buying a heat pump dryer, but you calculate or add up the savings that you make in a space of 2 years. Say you're saving about $100 a month in electricity bills, and also don't forget that it's gentle on your clothes. So you're probably saving all those nice outfits, all those nice clothes, so you won't be shopping as much for new clothes. So you can imagine at the end of that 2 years, you'd have saved yourself about $2,400, and it's still going. Make sure if you get these heat pump dryers, you add on that extended warranty so that you have like 5 years, 7 years warranty, because these things do malfunction, and when they do malfunction, you don't want to have something that costs so much and you're not covered for all those mishaps. So hopefully you've been able to catch up on what heat pump dryers are, because normally you just see the phrase heat pump dryer, but no one really explains to you how it works. So to put it simply, compressor, air, the air blows through the drum, the moisture is dropped in here, and then it drains out, which is where, when you're installing a condenser dryer, you need to pick out the options that you want to do. Either you want to be collecting it in the container, or you want to be draining it like a normal washing machine. The good thing about these as well is you can install them anywhere, because you don't have to vent them like a normal vented dryer, so it doesn't steam up the room. So that's something to think about when you're designing your laundries, or when you're thinking of an upgrade. You might save a few extra bucks, or you might save a lot actually, by buying a vented dryer, but then you have to vent it out into the environment, and it's more of a fire hazard, and it creates a lot of lint. There's a lot of maintenance that you have to do with a vented dryer that you avoid doing with a heat pump dryer. So I hope I've converted you and convinced you to be going out and buying yourself, do yourself a favor, buy yourself a heat pump dryer. Hey, like you only buy these appliances every few years, so why not buy something that's going to last you a long time, something that's going to be gentler on your clothes, gentler on the environment, gentler on your wallet as well. So do yourself a favor, grab yourself a heat pump dryer. In terms of the water, so the water that is always in your clothes when you dry them, it's all collected in this drawer, which you pull out and empty once it's full. You don't have to keep checking it, because the dryer itself will tell you when this thing is full. It will alert you when it's full. Depending on how many times you wash or dry, and the material that you're washing and drying, this, you can probably empty it maybe every 7-8 dry cycles. Towels and heavier things putting a lot more water in here. But to avoid that, you can actually hook this up at the back as a normal drain that you have on your washing machine, and then never having to worry about draining your dryer. So at the back of the dryer, you can actually fit this hose, so that you don't have to keep draining it every time so that you don't have to keep emptying the container. So make sure you sort of use this. There's instructions in the user manual on how to hook it up. It's pretty simple. It's just a matter of unhooking the other tube that goes up to the container and installing this one, and then just draining it. But just be mindful that this has to be lower than the dryer itself, because it doesn't have enough power to push the dryer, the water up like the drain. So just be mindful of that whenever you're installing it in any of the condenser dryers. In terms of controlling this, you've got your power here. So that's your power button, you press and hold, and you've got a dial here that you use to select your cycles. It's pretty simple. Then you've got your start pause button. Then you've got this button that you use to adjust how to be taking care of the clothes. So it gives you options of how dry you want them. It says to make them even, thick, fluffy, and soft. So for ironing, delicate care, fluffy and fresh, and full. So this is something new that Samsung has done, but something that Miele had been doing a long time in their dryers. So it's good to see that they've got this and crossed it over to Samsung, which is pretty good. So what it's doing here is you're determining how dry you want your clothes to be. Do you want them to be fluffy and soft, or is it a delicate one? So there's 4 levels. You just for iron dry, then you've got delicate care, then you got fluffy and fresh, then you got make even thick fabric soft and smooth. So you can choose the option that works for you. What I'd say about this is you need to actually play around with it and with whatever you are drying, because your needs are going to vary between different people. If you're a busy mom, you just want the kids washing done. But if you are a bit of a person who does fashion and you want to do something about your clothes, or I don't know, like something like that, you want to be selecting those options that take care of your fabrics. So it's something to know that, good to know that it's there. And so as we go along, like you can select these cycles and you can choose what you want to do. And as you can see here, it's not showing you the actual time that it's going to take to do that cycle. And that is because it's going to determine itself how much time each dry cycle is going to need. That's based on the load. So when you actually start the cycle, it's going to measure how much is in there, and then it's going to give you an estimate of how long that cycle is going to take. Now, obviously, the heavier the load, the longer the dry cycle is going to be. So as you're going along, it's got different dry settings for different fabrics. And now this one says quick dry. So quick dry is where the hybrid part comes in. You can do a quickly drying one, and that's going to make use of that heat pump drying function combined with the heating element that is going to preheat the drum and save you time by making it a quicker dry cycle. And moving on, you've got shirts. So that's to dry a few shirts. It's not for a big load, and that's a 25-minute one. That quick one, actually, that's for small loads. I'll jump into how long and how much in capacity, because most of these, it's not for that 10 kilos. It's for different kilos that you can actually load on in here. Moving on, shirts, bedding. So bed sheets and light duvets, I'd say it's going to take 2 hours and 54 minutes. Don't be alarmed when you see such a long time estimate, because it's going to adjust the time. So it's going to might go for about an hour and then go, oh, these clothes are almost dry. I only need about another 20 minutes. And then you'll see that it's gone down a little bit. So, or down a lot. So moving down as well, we've got towels. Keeps towels fluffy. Delicates for lingerie, if you want to do lingerie in the dryer. If you use a vented dryer and you use delicate setting, like they're not as good on that. But because of the heat pump technology in these delicates, you can do them in a dryer. Synthetics as well. Woolens, that's for your cardigans and your knits. You can use that. That's a quick 25-minute dry cycle. Now time dry. So that for those that can maybe say, I know when my clothes are dry, I know how to estimate it, I want to be the master, let me do it. So you can actually set the time that you want to do it. So it's going to dry for an hour, which is 60 minutes. And you can adjust that with this clock button here. That's what that's there for. 90 minutes, 1 hour 20, 1 hour 50, 1 hour 80. So 4 hours, 5 hours. So just be mindful when you're using a time dry function that you're telling it it's a timer. It's going to keep drying. Even if the clothes are dry, it's going to keep drying for until the timer runs out. So you might think you've actually estimated correctly how to do it, and then you end up shrinking your clothes because you just kept drying when the clothes are dry. So I'd highly recommend that you just use the cover dry function. The time dry, you can use it if you really know what you're doing. And moving on, we got rack dry. So rack dry, I know a lot of people are going to love this because most of the time people think you can just add your shoes and put them in the dryer. You can't do that. Some things just need to be rack dried, which is where this rack drying option comes in. That's for drying your shoes. So if you have a look at this sits in the dryer like so. So you have to set it in such a way that it sits in there. And so it sits in there. So you actually do remove this filter, and this rack dryer sits in these grooves, these spaces, like that. So what you do then is you put your shoes in there or whatever you want to dry in the rack, and then it dries them nicely. Something that a vented dryer cannot do. So you want to make sure that you get yourself a heat pump dryer, so you can wash your shoes and dry them in there. Something to think about. Now I've removed these. These are your filters. So you're meant to clean these after every dry cycle. So you've got your inner filter. So make sure you always clean these, and this other one. 90% of the time dryers break down because people don't clean these regularly enough. You leave it for too long, and then that lint has to go somewhere. The lint that's created in your dryer has to go somewhere, and that somewhere might happen to be inside the dryer itself, and then it starts obstructing sensors and creating problems. So you want to make sure that you're cleaning it up regularly so that you don't run into any issues. So once you're done, this closes up just like that, and you close it up. So once you're done, you can put it back, but of course remember to take out this shoe rack, and always remember to put back this filter. So that filter just goes in there, and that will be good to start drying again. So we are on the rack dry option. Moving on, that's a cool air. That's the air out laundry. So as you're going along, you can see this menu. There's little dots. That's just telling you where you are in terms of your navigation. And move along. Air bedding care, down jacket to keep them fluffy. 33-minute cycle. Outdoor care. So self tub dry. So this is like a tub clean function. So all that mold, like that moisture that maybe you haven't used it in a while, or you stop mid-cycle, some of that moisture stays in the dryer. So this is just a setting to just do a dry cycle with nothing in it to clean it out. Then you're back to the start. To give you a rough idea of how much you can put in each cycle, I know I've just gone through those cycles, but I'll show you here in the user manual like how much it recommends for each cycle. So your cottons, that's a maximum of about 10 kilos. AI dry, 10 kilos. Quick dry, 8 kilos. Shirts, 2 kilos, something light. Bedding, 4 kilos. Towels, 6 kilos. Delicates, 3 kilos. Synthetics, 7 kilos. And then woolens, 1 kilo. So just be mindful with this thing that it's going to take as long as it takes. Leave it to do the job, and you'll do it properly, and you can put all your clothes straight in the cupboard. But if you decide to rush ahead of it and think you want to adjust the settings and do your own thing, be my guest. You can do it and see how that works out. It's good that Samsung gives you the options to do what you want. Then there's another option here where after it's done, there's wrinkle prevent function. So it's counterproductive to finish a dry cycle and then your clothes are just sitting there all day because you're not home yet or you've gone to sleep. So you can put on a wrinkle protect function. So for 3 hours, every 5 minutes or so, it's going to turn to prevent the clothes from just sitting in there and creasing. So you can turn on that function. I think that's a pretty good function to turn on. And you can use that. This is the extra menus button. So just like on the washing machines they have now, this little hand with the plus. Damp alert, it's got damp alert. So damp alert just tells you when the clothes are damp enough to be iron dry. So you can turn that on if you want to be alerted when your clothes are sort of, so maybe you might use that when you want to do like woolens, maybe. I don't know, yeah. So this extra menus button, damp alert, then you've got drum light. So you can turn that drum light off and on demand whenever you want. Then you can turn it off as well. So this O button is for confirmation. That's sort of your OK button. Then you've got my cycles. So you can edit the cycles that are within the washing machine itself. So this is maybe through the SmartThings app, and you can find, so that menu that I was showing you at the start of this video, you can actually take off some of the cycles that you don't need. So maybe if you don't use the cool air or the direct dry or the air bedding care, you can take them off so that like it's not gonna walk you through all those menus. Then it's got other ones in here. So the optional filter. So there's an optional filter that you can add on to tell you there to remind you to clean the filter after every dry cycle. That can get annoying, but if you want, turn that on. Then this is just to tell you if the SmartThings app, if you want to turn on the SmartThings app, you press that, and you press and hold it, and then you follow the instructions on the SmartThings app on the Apple Store, the Google Play Store. Tells you how to connect this washer, this dryer to the SmartThings app. And then you'll be able to do a lot more things with this dryer, with your cycles. You can download some new cycles onto here, and you can do a whole lot more other things with it, not just what's on the dryer itself. So hoping that with future updates, you can get a lot more personalization in terms of your cycles and how delicate how it's going to take care of your clothes. So those are some of the things that you want to look at. So to start a cycle on this thing, you just close that. Then say I'm going to select a quick dry one and press and hold. So that's going to start the drying process. And I'm not sure if you can hear this, but it's pretty quiet. It's not that loud, which is really good. So anyway you decide to have this dryer in, it's gonna be perfect. And you want it to be quiet too, because it's sitting on top of your washing machine, and you can imagine compounding the vibrations through another washer. So it's pretty good what Samsung's done compared to other models of dryers and their previous models. This one is a lot more quieter. I feel a bit more confident that this thing is looking after my clothes. Now in terms of maintenance, we'll just pause that. So when you pause that, it's gonna open the door. So that door lock sign has disappeared from there, and you can open the door. And as you open the door, you can see that convenience light is on, and you can see what is happening in the dryer. You can see your clothes. You can actually turn on that light during the dry cycle and see what's happening. You simply go to the extra menus button, then you turn on that drum light. In terms of maintaining this thing, there's this flap here where your heat exchanger is. So when I was showing you those heat exchangers, this is where they are. So you simply remove this, There's two locking mechanisms here. You pull this out, and if you look inside there, there is your heat pump exchanger. Your heat exchanger is there. You can see those fans in those grills. That's about a quick rundown of how this heat pump dryer works. I hope that's been helpful. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to know about it, be sure to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will get back to you. And I'll be posting more videos on this dryer and other newer models as well. I also post videos on how to fix your washing machines and your dryers if they do ever break down later on in life. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so that whenever you need me, I'll be in your inbox. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.